Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Bobby Fallett. It is another cold one out there on this first alert weather day. To the west of us, Bismarck set a new record with 39 below this morning, and we may not get above zero today. Let's get right on over to meteorologist Lisa Green with what we need to know in these dangerous temperatures. Lisa.
Well, good afternoon. We are still in the midst of this Arctic air here today, and so we're going to see our temperatures rise, but we're still stuck in the cold. It's a first alert weather day. Taking a look outside, you can see that beautiful blue sky. At least it's nice and bright and sunny again, and dry as well, but it is certainly on the frigid side. We're at 8 below in Fargo still. It's 11 below in Detroit Lakes, 9 below in Devil's Lake. This is milder than yesterday at this time, so slight warmer weather here for us today, but that's all relative, of course. It's still pretty frigid, and we're looking at a high of about 4 below in Fargo. Maybe Grand Forks gets to 0. We'll have to see. And temperatures in general staying below 0. We're also dealing, of course, with some low wind chills that we're down to that 50 below range in some areas this morning. So when will this end? Well, take a look at our temperature trend graph over the next 11 days. We're going to see those numbers rise. It's going to take a bit. We'll still spend a few days here well below average, but then we're going right back up into not just normal, but even above normal temperatures as we head toward the weekend. We'll take a look at the numbers coming up in your 11-day planner.
All right, can't wait to hear about this increase in temperature. Lisa, thank you so much. An indigenous activist convicted in the killings of 2 FBI agents in 1975 was released from prison this morning. Leonard Peltier will return home to Belcourt later today. It's according to family members. They are asking people to gather at the reservation line to welcome him home. Then a celebration is planned at the Sky Dancer Casino tonight. He was serving a life sentence in connection to the deadly standoff on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Former President Joe Biden commuted his sentence during one of his final acts in office. An investigation is underway into what caused yesterday's crash landing of a Delta flight at Toronto's Pearson Airport. 80 people were on board, and there were some injuries, but thankfully no one was killed. Today, Delta said that of the 21 passengers taken to the hospital, 19 have been released. Tom Hansen is at the scene.
Social media footage shows the moment a Delta Airlines plane skids, catches fire, then flips over at Toronto Pearson International Airport Monday afternoon.
Our plane crashed. It's upside down.
Images of the aftermath show the plane on its top on the tarmac, its wings and tail ripped off, and landing gear pointed towards the sky.
All of a sudden, everything just kind of went sideways. And then next thing I know is kind of a blink and I'm upside down, still strapped in.
Passenger Pete Carlson told Canadian broadcasters he knew he had to get off the plane quickly.
Took my seatbelt off, which I had obviously left fastened for the landing. And as I took it off, crashed down onto the ceiling, which had become the floor.
Despite the devastating damage, officials say all 80 people on board, including 76 passengers and 4 crew members, survived.
It's really important that we do not speculate. What we can say is the runway was dry and there was no crosswind conditions.
Aviation experts say investigators will now begin a methodical review to piece together what went wrong, taking a close look at weather conditions.
They're going to be looking at things like wind gusts, wind shears, things like that, icing on the runways, the condition of the aircraft, and what the pilots were seeing, thinking, and experiencing.
And Monday's crash marks the 5th high-profile plane crash in the last 3 weeks in North America. And I want to read you a statement from Delta Airlines. They say the hearts of the entire global Delta family are with those affected by today's incident. Tom Hansen, CBS News, Toronto, Canada.
Now, it is the second recent crash involving a U.S. airline. The other was that mid-air collision last month between an Army Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines regional jet in Washington, D.C. 67 people died in that crash. New information in a crash that we first told you about yesterday at noon. The Minnesota State Patrol has identified some of the people involved in a crash between a semi and an SUV on I-94. 38-year-old Anthony Diggs was driving the SUV with 4 children in the car. Everyone in the SUV was hurt and taken to Lake Region Healthcare in Fergus Falls. 2 of the children were transferred to Fargo to be treated. No word on the extent of their injuries, but the crash report says that they are not life-threatening. The semi driver, a 46-year-old from Colorado, was not hurt. There were no injuries after a semi lost its load of metal pipes on I-29 in Richland County last night, causing a multi-vehicle crash. The Richland County Sheriff's Office, it was called around 11:45 to I-29 near mile marker 28. When authorities arrived, they found a crash involving 6 vehicles. Troopers say that a semi going south swerved to avoid hitting a deer. The driver lost control, crossed the median, causing the pipes to come off the trailer, blocking both northbound lanes. Question 1 on West Fargo's latest bond referendum passed at nearly 66% during yesterday's vote, allowing nearly $100 million for projects in the next 5 years. Now, it was question 2, plans for the next 6 to 10 years, that had people on their toes, sitting at 60.0% until absentee ballots made it fall at 59%.
And I guess I'm disappointed about question number 2, but it does reinforce that our community, our stakeholders, our taxpayers want us to look out, as far, keep that number as low as possible.
Now, question 3 also failed at 43%. That was $5 million to expand a Veterans Memorial Arena. You can read the breakdown of all the results as well as reaction from voters on valleynewslive.com and your free VNL News app. Just click on this story. A boil order is still in place in Devil's Lake after this large water main break happened in town yesterday. You can see the water shooting up into the streets, creating a wet and icy mess. This took place on 10th Street and 5th Avenue Northeast. City utility crews, they are testing the water supply to make sure it's safe to use. Now, once this is done, the boil order will be lifted. If you have any questions, you can call the City of Devil's Lake. That number 662-7600. Well, do you know anyone who's having car trouble right now? Maybe it's you with a vehicle in the shop. The extreme cold is taking a toll on vehicles here in the valley. Now, some common issues brought on by the cold include fluid leaks, ruptured hoses, power steering problems, and cooling and heating issues. Local mechanics say that warming your car up is crucial. It just might help you avoid these costly fixes.
If you just hit the key, start it, and go. Things from oil not pumping as it's supposed to not lubricating your engine. Like I said, all the other fluids are cold too. Power steering, it's really tough on power steering pumps, rack and pinions. It's really tough on hoses to not let things warm up. These things are all under pressure, so when you're not pumping as you're supposed to, the pressures change and it gets to be really hard on things.
Now, here's also something that you may not have thought about. While the real field temperature is hard on us, wind chill values do not have any impact on vehicles since they don't have skin. Well, maybe February and we might be dealing with frigid temperatures, but that's not stopping the historic Moorhead Dairy Queen. The ice cream shop shared these photos on their Facebook page of preparations of some of their signature dilly bars and other treats. Unfortunately, you'll just have to wait a little bit longer to get your favorite ice cream. The historic Moorhead Dairy Queen opens for their 76th season on March 1st. We'll keep it right here, right after the break. Meteorologist Lisa Green has your weather to help you plan for your first alert weather day and when we will see some relief from all of this Arctic air.